Morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. We're here for a work session. Could we all please rise for the pledge? And Councilman Rothwell, would you mind leading us?
Yes, Supervisor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of items up on the open session. The first one we have up is matters surrounding the update on planned improvements to Bayberry Park, and that will be with Hubbard and Rothwell. And I think we have Marge Acevedo here from the Parks and Recs Commission, if you wouldn't mind coming up. We have Ken Testa and Drew Dillingham, our town engineers. You guys come on up. And we have Jeanette, head of our finance department. Come on up and we can talk about all good things Bayberry Park.
We say Bayberry Park, but we also refer to it as Police Officers Memorial
Right.
Park as well, right? So we honor our police officers.
All good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who would like to start off?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
So we were asked to look at the parking lot at Bayberry Park and do an assessment, which we did, and it's in pretty bad shape. It really hasn't been touched in many, many, many years. It's got a lot of potholes, a lot of drainage issues. So we gave it a quick go-over and came up with some options on, what could be done to it and what it would cost, and tried to come up with a reasonable plan that would provide a nice level parking lot with good drainage that'll serve us for 20 to 25 years at a reasonable cost. So what we propose to do is to go in and mill the entire parking lot rather than just overlay it, which is a little cheaper, but if you have potholes, those potholes tend to come back because there's a reason down below that pothole started in the first place. So we would grind it all up into millings, use those millings to regrade the whole parking lot to get the water to go where we would like it to go. And then it would pave over the top of that, a 2-inch overlay, stripe it. We're gonna add 8 or 10, I think it was 8 drainage rings in a couple of spots where there's history of pooling water and water flowing off onto the tennis courts. So it provides some drainage. We'll repave the walkways, restripe everything. We're gonna do some asphalt curbing in areas where water is going off onto the neighboring property. And I think we'll have a good job for a reasonable amount of money. I think we budgeted around $325,000 is the budget. We hope to come in under that. We always aim for that.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Good.
Jeanette, maybe you can explain where the funding's coming from.
Yeah, so primarily the funding's coming from the cannabis tax, which has provided great use for some of the parks this year. It's wonderful to have some extra funding to be able to use. So without that, we would not have been able to make these improvements. So the majority of the money's coming from cannabis. Off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I just got pulled out. I can't remember where the small dollars are coming from, but the majority is cannabis tax. So
The smaller amount is coming from the recreation
that's right,
advisory.
Park and Rec. That's right.
Yeah.
Right,
Park
and
and
that's,
Rec fees.
we spoke to Marge about this, and she spoke to all the members on the Rec Advisory Committee.
It was unanimous, the support for this, because it's so badly needed. I mean, it's been one of the priorities of our top 5 improvements that are needed in our parks. I mean, Tim knows we need
We've heard
many.
this for a long time. Bayberry is at the top of the
But
list.
Bayberry is really at the top of the list. It's almost dangerous. I mean, the handicap accessibility is really needs an improvement, and I think that Tim and I have talked about this, and Ken and Bob, as far as ADA accessibility is the problem more than anything. And I think that we should really look into ADA grants, because I think there is money out there, ADA money out there, to improve this essentially that way too, and add to it being more accessible down to the where the area is.
Yeah, we have some ideas on what we may be able to do to accommodate that at a reasonable price. I know in the past, because of the steep drop-off of that slope, you can't really get the right angle in that short distance, so they've been talking about doing, back and forth, yeah. But we might have another idea that we're knocking around with that we think we may be able to fit within this budget. So let us play with that a little bit. I don't really want to get into it too much, but I think we have a way of resolving that problem.
As long as you're aware, I think
We are
that's.
very aware of it, and I think
Just to look at it,
Yeah.
you become aware of it immediately, you really
We're
do.
looking at the possibility of maybe paving the roadway. When you first come in the parking lot, there's a service road that goes down that the maintenance workers use to get their equipment down there, and the construction workers were thinking maybe we pave that and we put a small paved parking area down below that would accommodate 2 or 3 handicap vehicles, and we make the handicap, rather than try to get the handicapped person down by,
Yes.
with
Yeah.
a
Right
with a
now,
wheelchair or
if
a
you
walker,
went in a
get them
wheelchair,
down in
you'd
the
never
car
get
and then
up
let them
again.
out. So we're playing with that, and we're hoping we can fit that within the budget. We're just playing with elevations and making sure all the slopes work out.
Great,
So if we
thank
can
you.
get that in there, we're gonna get that in there. Otherwise, the other option is pretty expensive, and we'll look at grants for that. Maybe this could be a short-term solution.
Yeah, I think that's a great solution, actually. I never really looked at that side road, but that's a great idea.
For our residents that aren't familiar with Police Memorial Park or Bayberry Park, it's almost like a two-level park. The parking lot is basically the upper level, and the park itself is what we would refer to, I guess, as the lower level. There is a slope that goes down, and it's a pretty steep slope, so it certainly could hamper somebody who had a handicap trying to get down there.
But we've also had so many new groups, PAL, whatever, using that backfield, so fixing that parking lot would be such an advantage to all of them coming in, because going in, your car's like this going in, but that'll be great. It really will. We're very happy about this. The committee was very excited when I called them, I have to tell you.
So can I just clarify in terms of with funding, because for the general public that might not be aware, park and rec fees is money that is paid separately by developers. So when an apartment is built downtown, for example, or anywhere in the town of Riverhead, current fee is they have to pay $5,000 into the park and rec fees. And so that money is used to upgrade and spend on parks, obviously, but it's not taxpayer money. And then in addition, you have the cannabis side, which we know is that's the tax that we're getting on cannabis, but again, not taxpayer money. So I just like to emphasize too, on a project of this magnitude that we're spending well over $300,000, it's not taxpayer money, and that's just important to hit home on this. So that we're able to do projects like this through development fees, through cannabis fees, and we're always looking for grants and we're looking for every other opportunity, but I think that's the fiscal way to do it, and I'm just so proud that this project is getting done.
And as far as timing goes, we have a purchase order in, we have a contractor lined up. We were able to make it fit into some annual construction contracts that we issue every year. We're riding on a couple of county items. So we have that lengthy portion of it worked out, and we're hoping to have a purchase order within the next 2 days. And the contract has already been advised. So obviously, we're facing a winter, rapidly approaching winter. So the goal is to get it done before the plants close sometime around Christmas time. So within the next 2 weeks, we hope to be out there grinding up the parking lot. That's the goal.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the only park we have in Wading River, playground and ball field park.
Yeah, playground and
That's the only
ball
one
field. It
out
is
of all
the
the
only
parks
one.
in the town.
So it's, we've had a lot of people approach us, so this is wonderful. It really is.
And for the residents on Bayberry Park, as a separate side note, Bayberry Road is being repaved as well by the Highway Department. It just happened to be on the list, so it's kind of interesting that the residents that live over on Bayberry Road in Wading River are going to see a new street as well as a whole new parking lot. So they're getting their attention there in Wading River. So it just happened to coincide. Mike, each year creates a list and of priority, and there's a number of streets up in Wading River that have been done this year. So.
And I'm glad to hear that, possibly there'll be a line item for the parks improvements for next year. I think that's a great, we have to start someplace. And, what we don't use, add to the next year, and just build up a fund that we can go to when we have an emergency. Because we really were at a point where we almost thought we had to recommend closing some of our pocket parks because of the lack of funds to do improvements. So this is wonderful. I mean, I really feel like after 20, I've been on the committee now for almost 25 years, and I feel like we're really accomplishing something at the end of this year. So thank you very much.
Marge, for the residents that don't know, how many parks do we have in
We
Riverhead?
have 46 parks.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of maintenance and.
Yeah.
we're
And
very
Ray
happy.
does a great job. I mean, considering, the Ray and the whole recreation department, they do a great job trying to maintain everything. But it's a lot. It really is a lot to maintain. So this is really going to help them as far as, because I know Ray was getting a lot of complaints about Bayberry.
Well, you and George Gableson have done a great job.
Well, I appreciate George has been.
Liaison. Yeah.
George is he tells me, he's been there longer than I have, and George has put in over 30 years, and George really knows where everything is buried. So when I don't know something, George says, well, I'll tell you, here's the paperwork, and he has it right there. He's great. He's a great co-chair.
This is exactly how the board operates. We've had this discussion with taxpayers since the budget came out. And they're saying, well, can't we find other ways instead of putting it on the taxpayer's back? And this is exactly what we're talking about. This is one of many ways that we do that without having to up the budget, but we can get things done. And I appreciate the support of the board on this because this is an excellent way to use money that's not taxpayer money and get massive improvements that we can that are much needed and long overdue.
Yes.
Another projects we've used has been Two Bears Park is recently and currently still being
Two Bears Park,
upgraded. Doing
yeah,
that.
they're still, is that completed, Two Bears Park?
Still working on it.
Yeah.
Be very soon.
But I haven't been up there yet. But that was something that really had to be done, and slowly but surely we're knocking them off our list.
And in the future, we have, with Heatherwood, we have the potential, we'll have 495,000, I believe that's going to be coming into Park and Rec fees. We also have 203 Osborne, we're expecting fees to come in. So the idea is that there's future funding coming next year so that we can continue to do exactly what we're doing.
Right.
I was just going to say, and this will piggyback on what the supervisor just said, as opposed as I have been to cannabis here in Riverhead, this is one of the positive things that has come out of cannabis. And I know that when I first came on the board, there was so much discussion about how can we help Bayberry Park, especially from Councilman Rothwell. It was a constant discussion, and it was where is the funding coming from? So now that we have the cannabis funding coming in, we're able to utilize it in such a positive way, and I'm so happy that Wading River is getting the attention that they so deserve.
At a Suffolk County Supervisors meeting yesterday, and Supervisor Schaefer from the town of Babylon, they were the first to have a cannabis dispensary in their town. They're reaping over $4 million this year alone on the tiny little bit of sales tax that they get. So we know the market is out there. We know the money is very helpful in working with our budget and getting things done without having to go directly to the taxpayer.
I had the same discussion with Rich, and he said, listen, I wasn't for it. Rich wasn't for it either.
Right.
I wasn't for it. I think I expressed that, but if this is how we can benefit the town and especially the taxpayer.
Yeah,
Right.
we would not have been able to do this project without the cannabis funding.
I 100% agree with Councilwoman Waski. It's like I was never supportive of cannabis, and you can't just implement it into the budget on estimated things because I think it's going to fluctuate from each year. So you have to be really reserved on expected revenues. But
We'll take it every time.
So we kind of this is money that we've already collected. We do have additional funds that are going to be coming in for the third and fourth quarters. So this is only funds that involve the first and second quarter. So we're being conservative in terms of anything in the budget, but at the same point, once the money's here, after it's arrived, then we can look at projects like this.
Bob is laughing because Bob knows that now that I know about this money, boy, I'm going to keep my eye on this.
I know it's going to be tough working with you guys.
But it's true. It's true. And I don't want to make this sound like a cannabis commercial, but a lot of the naysayers were worried that, it was going to be negative to our town by having dispensaries. And they, just like the uproar about medical marijuana when they first opened up, it just doesn't happen. There aren't people looting around. There aren't people standing outside high. I rode by Strange Stars the other day, and I saw an elderly couple coming out the door. The man had a walker and the lady had a cane. There's a lot of people that use cannabis for very different reasons, and this isn't the 60s. This isn't the flower child era. This is something entirely different, and it's been a plus for the town. It really has. We just got to work out a couple kinks with the state, which we met with yesterday. At the supervisors meeting, we had Governor Hochul's rep there, and she heard loud and clear our concerns about hometown rule and time, manner, and place, and she's going back to talk to the governor about that and see if we can't straighten this out. And Rich agreed with the same way. Don't step on the town's toes now. You gave us the right to do this, and time, manner, and place, and now you're changing the field on us, and that's not fair. And hopefully we're going to get a positive outcome out of this very soon. So,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work with the Recreation Committee. We appreciate and all the other committees.
We have a great committee. I mean, they really are active, and they really, I trust George, especially George's judgment and my judgment, and that's what makes it easy to work with them.
Yep.
So,
Well, you know the town. You know
Another
the
20
town.
years, Marge, on the committee.
another 20
Yep.
years? I don't think so. Thank you.
Marge,
Thank
thank
you,
you for all that
everybody.
you do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good work.
The best of the best.
Okay, item number 2 that we have are matters surrounding the National Fire Protection Association, known as NFPA, code, and that will be with PILO and KEATING. Good morning, folks. How are you?
More of my favorite people come to the table.
So this is, I guess, a little bit of background. The state codes, New York State fire codes, building codes, mechanical codes, are created from a organization called the ICC, which creates the International Fire Code, the International Building Code. And what they are is they're model codes and standards that states adopt, towns adopt. Within those model codes and standards are reference standards, specifically technical standards, and that's where the NFPA comes into play. They are referenced in our ICC, our New York State codes, multiple different times as reference standards. They are the more technical pieces to it, and what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to utilize the rest of those codes that aren't necessarily referenced in the New York State codes that might apply to something more technical that the town is dealing with, that we can then go back to as a reference standard to ensure that it's safe for the town to install. Or there's a number of different, they have over 300 codes and standards in their repertoire that we can use to help enforce some pieces within the town, projects and otherwise. So we're just basically trying to utilize the NFPA codes for everything that's not referenced in New York State. Another municipality, Brookhaven, has done this years ago to utilize, just so they can, it's more of our capturing more codes to be able to help us, build safe structures and build safe installations. So.
And once that's adopted into our local code, we'll be able to enforce it on the justice court end. So it would convert it from professional guidance to enforceable law. That way, in the court, we can ask for those fines and those things instead of it just being a way to describe them. It'll be a way that they're incorporated and we can enforce them.
Can you give us an example of some what you see in court that we're not able to enforce?
I guess I can kind of speak to a couple of the codes that fall into place that we've used before. Is specifically NFPA 1221 is the standard code for emergency responder radio coverage systems. While that's referenced in the New York State Building Code, this goes much more technically into how to do inspections, how to go through all of the different pieces and how it's supposed to be installed within a building. So we'd be able to use that more effectively, the entire code, as opposed to some reference excerpts. Another one is 855, battery energy storage systems. That's another code that is referenced in the New York State Code, but if we were to utilize this, we would be able to use the entire code to make sure we can cover some more pieces of that safely.
So if the installation, if there's anything wrong with the installation, then he can issue a summons for that, and then we can enforce it, and we can actually pinpoint the specific section that they violated. So it makes it easier in the court to pinpoint the exact problem that's coming out of this.
Explain the exceptions here, based on why the fire code and the 5,000.
Yeah, the exceptions so some states don't necessarily have, they don't adopt the ICC codes. They basically adopt the NFPA code as their reference standard for the entire state. Vermont's one of them, which I worked in, is what they call an NFPA state. They have two codes, which is NFPA 1, which is their building code, and then NFPA 5000 is the construction and safety code. It's basically NFPA 1 is how to build it, and then basically NFPA 5000 is how everything else goes into that building integrity-wise. So those wouldn't need to be incorporated here because we have the ICC codes, which basically does our construction side of things. So those are the two exceptions. Everything else we could utilize as we need to.
So that's why I ask you to explain it, so it's not as though we're not going to enforce it, because it's just that we have our own, maybe more strict codes that are already written, and they're going to remain in effect.
And then kind of dovetailing on the cannabis, NFPA 420, which is kind of hilarious that they made the number 420, but that is a cannabis code that is, you're quickly seeing in the ICC code, there's actually a book that came out that we purchased that is how to use the ICC code for cannabis facilities. NFPA developed a code specifically for it, so all of these cannabis facilities that we may or may not be seeing in the future will be able to utilize that code going forward and basically use it as a technical reference moving forward. So that would be helpful.
Very good.
And it would still be the same fine schedule that's found under 231 that we recently increased.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, I think we're going to amend the work session agenda today, and we're going to add on a third item. And the third item, if I could ask Councilor Howard to come on up, and there seems to be some confusion and some misstated facts out there from some people regarding the resolution we adopted off the floor at Tuesday night's work session.
Yes, so on Tuesday night, the town board meeting, resolution was called off the floor to approve a pre-possession agreement with Joe Petroselli, who's been designated the master developer for the Town Square project and the redevelopment of 127 East Main Street. What I've seen is that it was characterized as authorizing the demolition. First of all, that is misleading. The resolution itself doesn't authorize demolition of the structure. That's accomplished through a demolition permit that's submitted to the building department and processed, consistent with their policies and procedures. So when and if that occurs, that will follow the normal process. The pre-possession agreement specifically was referenced in the master developer agreement, which, as you all know, was posted online in July of this year prior to the qualified and eligible hearing on July 22nd. It references, there's a definition, there's a lease. It says that, note the town shall, at the request of the master developer, enter into a lease and pre-possession agreement to permit construction activities on the hotel project property to commence, subject to the fee provisions and to meet cost schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So the definitions clearly contemplate this pre-possession agreement. Then later on, under terms of transfer of the hotel project property, there's a paragraph that also references pre-closing possession agreement with the master developer. And then again, at Article 4 or it's 5.04. There's a reference to a construction lease pre-possession agreement with annual fee terms in an amount not less than the cost of the annual payment due for the repayment of the bond to principal and interest related to the purchase and or demolition of 117, 121, and 127. So all of that was previously contemplated by the town board. It was part of the qualified and eligible hearing. So there was nothing that was done sort of behind the scenes or anything. This is something that was, first of all, it was entirely legal, and any suggestion to the contrary is false and factually inaccurate, and legally inaccurate. The qualified and eligible hearing occurred. The town board duly considered the master developer agreement. My office then set about, at the request of the master developer, doing the pre-possession and lease agreement. This is really a procedural step in the overall redevelopment. I just wanted to get that out there because it seems like it's being characterized as something else, and it's not. It's frankly the proper procedure. And there is no law that prevents the town board from taking a resolution off the floor. Your legislative body, you're fully capable of doing that. And the timing is, the lease agreement was completed by Ms. Prudenti, in a timely manner, and we wanted to get it in front of the town board, and we recommended that it be pulled off the floor rather than waiting another 2.5, 3 weeks for the resolution to go forward.
It's just, and I've said this numerous times before, it's such a disservice when somebody comes up to that microphone or writes to one of the local media outlets and they say things that aren't true. And it's just a disservice to all the residents because all it does is confuse people. And just be truthful in what you say and how you if you're against the project, so be it. That's fine. You have every right to do that. But I disagree with the fact that you would then come up to a microphone or you try to get some airtime or press time and you say things that just aren't true. And that to me is very disappointing in some of the people that do that.
Well, and I'm going to take particular exception to any suggestion that my office would recommend to the town board anything that's illegal or improper. We go over all these things very carefully. We analyze the general municipal law, any other applicable New York State laws, our own town code. My office will not recommend to the town board that they do anything illegal. And I think in the past we've had conversations about things you can't do because we think they're illegal. So, I really take exception to that kind of suggestion. And then just one other thing, because it did come up, and I just want to make sure that the board is clear on this. The properties down at the town square in 127 are not parkland. They were never contemplated as parkland. When the town board adopted Resolution 399 in 2020, there was a paragraph in there that specifically states that the purchase is for the creation of public gathering space with pedestrian connectivity and vistas from Main Street to Peconic River, together with encouragement and pursuit of private financing, public and private partnerships, federal and state and local funding, subsidies, and capital grants to design and construct commercial and retail uses compatible with the public space, all consistent with the urban renewal policies and goals recited above. And the resolution, if you read back into it, it details in very comprehensive fashion all of the studies and all of the work that the town has put into analyzing the redevelopment of downtown. So the space down there was never going to be dedicated parkland. It was never going to be dedicated parkland, whether you do that formally or informally.
We said 4.5 years ago when we were purchasing the 3 properties, we made certain that would there be just municipal properties, because we spoke right then, was the initial plan. The reason we purchased that was to redevelop them, and we would never want to face an alienation of parkland project where we'd have to go before the state to request permission on how to utilize it.
Correct.
So, the majority of the land in which we own as a municipality is not parkland, the building that we're sitting in right now, and that allows us to develop things and change things. So that was right from day one. That was, was our very intention that we were purchasing this property to eventually to transfer title for development so that it would achieve positive revenue for the taxpayers and revitalize downtown.
Right. And, we proceeded with the demolition of 117 and 121 a little faster. the demolition of 127 was always contemplated. This has been in the public realm for
Since
about
we
at
purchased
least
that,
5
yeah,
years.
since
At
we
least 5
purchased
years.
that building.
Very initial plan.
So I really, I take exception
The
to
owners of the
notion that-
establishment that was in there.
Right, and so I will also take exception to the notion that this was done as some kind of surprise. You guys have all been, or you as a town board, have all been very clear about the intention of redeveloping those spaces.
It's all laid out in the master development agreement. All of this, as you just said, Eric, is laid out and talked about, the pre-possession agreement, all of that. So to say that this is something new or something different is disingenuous to the
It's
public.
just disingenuous or people not doing their homework.
Right, and I mean, look, it's not even, it is a little bit of homework, but I mean, I would struggle to find a way that the 5 of you could have better publicized this. We've been talking about it at least twice a month, 3 times a month for the better part of 5 years. There is nothing in here that was done sort of behind the scenes or in a manner that's inconsistent with the law.
Well, that's what happens when you have a title of the article that says surprise, where you have people that are only reading the headlines and not actually reading the article. This is no surprise to anybody, and that was unfortunate that it was written like that.
Correct.
I would also say, when you go downtown and you sit in the different restaurants, and there are still some that are struggling, time is of the essence to them, to the current people that are operating businesses downtown. They have been asking for this activation space, and we have been telling them we're building it for 4.5 years. So it would be disingenuous to say to them, well, we'll just wait till the next meeting. They want this to move ahead as soon as possible so that we can start filling the seats in restaurants downtown. So it is our job to make adjustments on the schedule, to bring things off the floor, to keep this project moving forward.
Correct, and so really this, what came off the floor on Tuesday night is really sort of a procedural step in furtherance of what the board already considered and approved. If there hadn't been reference to the pre-possession agreement in the master development agreement, and it was a completely new aspect of it, that could be considered an amendment to the master developer agreement, which I think then would merit the town board considering opening that up for further discussion. But the fact of the matter is it was in there, and that was articulated when the master developer agreement was presented to the public. So this should not have come as a surprise to anyone.
Agreed.
Councilor Howard, thank you so much for all that you and your office do. You do a fantastic job.
I thank you very much for that.
Thank you for
It's a shame
stating
that-
it the way you did, very succinctly, to let people know exactly what this was, just the next step in an agreement.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say this, it's a shame that you have to come and explain this after it has been public, to your point, we've gone over this. Every agreement has been gone over to the town board publicly, and here we are.
Yeah, and just generally, I don't mind explaining things. I'm a lawyer, that's what I do. I prefer to do that. I prefer not to do it under these kind of circumstances, but it is what it is.
Did anybody contact you before any articles were written about that, to ask your opinion?
No.
That would have been a good idea.
Absolutely.
So much for research on their behalf. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that wraps up our open session. In a moment, we're going to go into executive session, and we have one item on executive session, and that's under contractual, and it will be matters surrounding contractual agreement between the town of Riverhead and Tracy Thomas, and that will be with Councilor Howard. So if I could have a motion to close the open session?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Open session is closed, and we are going to now go to executive session. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Let me just go over some quick announcements again. Okay, Saturday, October 25th through Sunday, November 2nd, is early voting. It's at Riverhead Town Hall. It's in the lower level. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. This Saturday, this Sunday, and this Monday, the voting is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, which is October 28th and 29th, the voting is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Thursday and Friday, October 30th and 31st, the voting is from 12 noon to 8 p.m. On Saturday and Sunday, November 1st and November 2nd, voting is from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And these are all times that are set up by the Board of Elections. We have nothing to do with that, but just familiarize yourself with the times and dates that they're open, and please come out and vote. Saturday, October 25th, the Halloween Fest and Parade. That will be with fireworks. All the festivities start at 4 o'clock. Joe, do you have anything you want to add to that? I'm looking so forward to this. Looks like Mother Nature might cooperate.
I think so. It's going to be a great day. Come on down to Riverhead downtown.
Absolutely. The parade kicks off at 7 o'clock. And on Sunday, October 25th, we have Racetrack Knott Street Fall Motorsports Racing Events at EPCAL from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's all I have for announcements.
Can I just
Everybody,
have one more?
Go right ahead.
Anti-litter fall cleanup is November 1st here, Town Hall, 9 a.m. It's from 9 to 11. We'll have the pickers and gloves and garbage bags, T-shirts for all volunteers. So come on down November 1st.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, that concludes.
Rotary breakfast.
Oh, Rotary breakfast.
This Sunday. No, November 2nd.
November 2nd.
Sunday, November 2nd, the Rotary is having its annual pancake breakfast. I believe it's at the Polish Hall.
It is.
And I want to say it's
8 a.m.?
It's from 8 a.m. to noon. And they always put out a good spread. That's a nice event. So if you're looking for breakfast on November 2nd at the Polish Hall, the Rotary sponsors it. They do so many good things with the money they raise during their fundraising events. They're a great service club to have, and I'm very proud that we have them here in the town of Riverhead. So I think that wraps it up. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. A lot of things going on. Get out and about, and don't forget to vote.